So in the draft this year, there's some interesting offensive tackles, and Broderick Jones has gotten a lot of attention, and rightfully so for his athleticism. And he's really a highly regarded guy, and I guess is going to go somewhere in the first round, probably in the top 20. But I think that there's some things that are cause for concern here when we look at him. But first of all, let's take a look at why people like him so much and why he's so highly regarded. Here against Oregon, he demonstrates his athletic abilities. He can redirect. Now the technique there's not very good. He gets oversets and he latches onto the guy. But the big deal is he's athletic enough to stay balanced and athletic enough to stay on him. But the technique's awful. I mean, that's just not what you'd want him to set like, and he gets turned and all those things. But it shows his athletic prowess, so to speak. And guys, offensive line coaches will look at that and they can fix that with a guy as long as he has the skill level, to do it. And then here, this is really a much better look at him. Now, he's not as vertical as you'd like him to be, but that's all right. But here he's going to punch and he's going to keep his head out of it. And he still has a little bit of a lean. You look at the tackle on the right side, who's more upright, which is really what you want, but he's a waist bender. He wants to do that, but he's athletic enough to recover from that. But this is one of the few opportunities to see him actually punch and use his hands like he'd want him to do, and then set himself and with his feet and anchor down there a little bit, which he's going to have to do. So here's a good look at him out in space here on the screen. He'll pull out here the balls, or a pitch rather, and he gets under this defensive back. And the thing he does such a good job of when he makes contact is he keeps his feet going, and it's a hit and lift kind of a deal. Picks him right up off his feet, and of course he puts him down on his back. Now the guy's probably 180 pounds, right? So there's quite a bit of weight difference here, but he's very fast and he's athletic. And you see these things, and it's very impressive because I've seen him do this with linebackers as well. But that part of it, I think, is unquestionable. He does have the athleticism, to be on the outside there at the left tackle. But the other part of that equation is very concerning, and that's what we're going to look at here next. So here you're going to see him pass block, and we'll stop it here right when he's going to go to set. And right there, he's going to bend at his hips. He's a big hip bender. He sticks his head in there, and both feet are going to come up off the ground. His hands have really not even hit the defender yet. And the defender just walks him right back to the quarterback. Now, as you look at the tackle on the other side, he jumps out on the guy and punches him. And he's got his butt down like he's supposed to. He's set out on him. That's fine. But just what he's doing over here at the tackle position, that's ugly. I mean, that's the worst position an offensive lineman can be in a pass blocking situation. He turns out, he drops his head, tries to headbutt him. Look at his arms, haven't even approached the defender yet, and he's going to get pushed back by a smaller player right back into the quarterback. It's just ugly. I mean, a first rounder should never look like that. I mean, if you got a guy that you like as a left tackle and you put the tape on and you look at this technique, that's a tough pill to swallow there. The same thing. Now he's setting out here for some reason. I guess maybe we set out on a quick pass in the screen sometimes, but he goes way out instead of more of a vertical set. And he's going to lunge ahead with his head again, and no arms. His arms are down by his side, and he tries to headbutt the guy. And anybody of any ability on a defensive line can beat that. As soon as he sets out on you and tries to headbutt you, you just swim him inside. You just beat him inside. It's just awful. Same thing here. Now, watch the contact here. He's bent over at the hip at a right angle. His feet are together. You look at the tackle on the other side, he's more upright. He's got his feet out, and he's punching. And he's come late with his hands, so he's got his face down, head in it. His feet aren't anchored. He hasn't punched, and he's just going to get abused by this defensive end. He's going to get pushed back. Because he's so athletic, he's able to stay on this guy, which is his saving grace. Now here in the running game, he's going to get torqued here, and the pad level is everything in the offensive defensive line. You hear guys talk about that, announcers all the time, and he's so high. He's a hip bender, and he wants what we used to call belly bump. And when you get guys that belly bump, they don't use their hands very well. Because in run blocking, you use your hands and punch as well, right? So he wants to lead with his head and then latch on to guys. And look at his base here with his feet. He's just going to get stood up, and then the guy's just going to shirk him, throw him away, and then make the tackle. And that's really, to me, very, very poor. So all in all, when you look at him, I think you can see why guys are in love with his abilities. And offensive line coaches will look at this and say, well, I understand the bad here, but we can fix that. And, we'll help him with the chutes, put him in the chutes and put him on the sled and all that sort of thing and teach him technique. But he's not taking coaching, or he's just kind of a mauler that's kind of a hip bender that doesn't need to be a hip bender, which is really frustrating because a guy can bend his ankles and set his butt down and deliver a hit and lift. Those are guys that's what you want. But here's a guy who can do those things, but just doesn't do that and just relies on his athleticism, his balance, and his foot speed to just kind of recover. And it's kind of street ball is what it is. And for me, this is a scary guy. He's going to be he's a first round project if somebody drafts him. If you're a quarterback in the team that drafts him, hopefully he's not going to start that first year, right? So it'll take him a year in this league with a good offensive line coach to get rid of that stuff and get a base. But he's worthwhile athletically, but man, I tell you what, he's got a long ways to go.